My life before Redwood Gospel Mission was chaos, insanity. It was unmanageable and brokenness. Trying to take care of 3 children. It was hard trying to be a mom to 3 children when I couldn't even take care of myself.
The things that I had experienced, I was almost 100% certain that there was nobody on this earth that could relate to those experiences, and therefore I dismissed any type of help. I spent every single day of my life in fear, in survival mode.
Before I came to the mission, I would say I was on these streets, walking around, trying to look for work, trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself. In my addiction, though, is where I was. I allowed certain things to happen in my household until it finally came to light. Both parents are in their addiction. And here's this little girl being born. We were losing our place. So the whole picture was not good at all.
Over 60 years that the mission has existed, we have seen that relationships and broken relationships are often at the core of homelessness. We see women and children who are abandoned. We see the victims of spousal abuse. We see the fallout of drug and alcohol addiction. We have seen the challenges of foster children transitioning into adulthood with no place to go because there are no stable, healthy relationships in their lives. We have recognized that for many years, and we have addressed all of our programs to meet those needs of broken relationships so that healing can take place.
I feel like my addiction started before I had kids. I had a very sheltered life, so when I was exposed to the world, I kind of went crazy, where I was partying and drinking and thinking that was okay. I had my first child, and I feel like I was trying to keep up by handling all that life is, and I wasn't able to handle it, so that's when substances started coming in, and it actually all started from being prescribed medication after having a child, and thought like, oh, okay, this is gonna give me energy to push through and be that mom, until it became so unmanageable and I spiraled out of control. During that time, I didn't see a problem. I was just trying to keep up and take care of my kids, but really I wasn't even able to take care of myself.
Previous to coming to the Rose and going through treatment, I spent 2 years in active addiction with my children on my hip, running the streets of Santa Rosa. We were going from home to home to home, from hotel room to hotel room to hotel room, stealing food for them to eat every day. And so going to the Rose, being able to provide a safe place for my children, where I could reestablish trust with them so that they could feel comfortable knowing that it was going to be okay.
20 months ago, I couldn't even see my kid. I would have to go visit at CPS and have my daughter dropped off by county cars and have her leave in a county car. It was the most horrible thing I had to see or do, you know what I mean? But I had to go through all that. Right before the baby was born, 2 years ago, I lost my mom. So everything changed for me. My whole life changed. My mom was gone. We ended up with a CPS case. Baby's mom was out of my picture, out of my life. So for me, everything changed. But life still kept going. I still had to keep pushing forward.
We've seen women looking to go through a recovery program, even men looking to go through a recovery program who have responsibilities for their children. And as they look at those needs that their kids have, they put their own health on the back burner in order to care for the needs of their children. It never works out. The children suffer because of that, because the parents aren't fully there, and the parents delay what is needed in their lives. What a wonderful thing to be able to provide a recovery program where families can be intact and children can be ministered to in a healthy and safe environment.
had another child, and that relationship was toxic, and we separated, and that's when I knew that I needed to place my kids with my parents. So I willingly handed them to my parents, and when I did that, I didn't realize that I didn't know my identity outside of being a mom, and so my addiction basically took off full force because I was broken and I didn't know how to fill that void of not having the kids and always being a mom. I got to a point where I was hanging out with people in the wrong crowd and doing things that I never imagined I would have ever done, and that's when I realized that I needed something more and found Redwood Gospel Mission. It was literally like knocking on death's door, where I had woke up in a hospital and realized that this is not the path that I want to go down. It's either my life or I'm gonna die.
I was getting tired, and I knew what I needed to do. I just was struggling to bring myself to that point. So I knew I didn't want to use anymore at that point. I promise you that I didn't want to, but I didn't know how not to. My children being removed from my care was not a surprise. I knew it was coming. And that night at Motel 6, I put my kids to bed, and I was getting ready to leave, loaded to go with some other people to commit crimes. I didn't make it out of the parking lot. As much as it pained me to know that I was going to jail, I felt relieved that finally they were going to have a safe place to go, because I couldn't provide that.
I was a mean person. I was not a nice person, and out of the meanness, I got a lot of meanness coming back at me too. I had to lose the fighting with people. Had to lose that in order to make my life better, and not to carry that anger and hurt and everything inside of me, because it wasn't getting me nowhere. Before I got to the mission, I didn't want to go to the mission. I didn't want to go to that program. I never knew about that program. Actually, the way I got started at the mission, I was a volunteer first before I came into the program. I was volunteering because I was fresh in my recovery. I was trying to do something with my time, didn't have an employment. So I heard about the mission, so I started volunteering there. That's where I met some of the guys. I relapsed and I stayed away from the mission, and here I go again. And then I ended up in the program. And I never wanted to be in a program. I never wanted to go, especially in a Christian-based program. I didn't want that. I didn't want that for my life. Me and God had an agreement. He doesn't come into my house, I won't go into his house. And I ended up in a Christian-based program, and it turned my life around.
Intact families are an indicator of health. Broken families are an indicator of a lack of health. I've not met children from broken homes who say, "I'm so glad I grew up in a broken home." But I have met thousands of people who have said, "I'm so glad that I had a stable, healthy family." When we keep families together, we are contributing to their health and the health of our entire community.
This is over a 6-year period of starting from Manna Home to where I'm at today, and so to sit here 6 years later is a miracle. To see how beautiful God's perfect timing really is. I had gained custody back of my son 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and of course I wanted all my kids back. Then I couldn't understand it, but I was super grateful to be a mom again, the mom that God created me to always be. Looking back, I now understand why it was one kid, and then 3 years later, I just gained custody back of my daughter. I feel like, God doesn't give us more than we can handle, and so I fully believe that. But life today it's peaceful, and it's what I've always wanted. I just didn't know how to get here, and to be responsible and to be able to show up for my kids every day. It's truly a blessing.
What it felt like being at the Rose was I was surrounded by broken people like myself. Everybody in there was struggling with some sort of challenge, and I feel like that's where God is The presence of God in that facility, in that home, with everybody there was extremely powerful, undeniable. The impact that going to the Rose had on my life today is tremendous. Being stable and being able to not have to worry about worldly things was huge. I would never want for my daughter anything remotely close that I experienced when I was her age. I can't even fathom the thought. I'm connected with my children in a way that I never even imagined was possible between a parent and a child. I never experienced anything like it in my life.
For me in my recovery, I don't want to forget that, because if I start letting go of where I was in jail, riding a bike down to see my daughter at CPS, if I lose track of that, or if I forget those thoughts, that's where I tend to slip away. And I don't want to forget where I was, how far down I have hit. Because for me, I hit the bottom and I kept digging. That's not a bottom. I can do better than that. And I kept digging until finally ended up with my daughter. For me, I have peace today. The way I come, the way I look, money I have, that's what I come with. That's all you get. But you know what? I'm at peace with myself. I'm at peace with people. I'm at peace with baby's mom. I'm at peace with CPS. I'm at peace with myself in life today, and I'm happy.
The mission has always recognized that homelessness is more than a problem of housing. Over the many, many years that the mission has existed, over 60 years that the mission has existed, we have seen that relationships and broken relationships are often at the core of homelessness. Providing a situation for people where they can experience hope brings hope to a community. And I think that that's what we're bringing to Sonoma County, is hope. Through unbelievable miracles, a place came available, a 60,000 square foot former hospital that would cost millions of dollars to acquire. We thought, well, that is way beyond our ability to do in the time that was given. But because of incredibly generous donors, because of the miracle of God's timing, the mission was able to acquire the facility that I'm speaking to you from, and to begin to experience a ministry to families in need, so that long-term solutions could be provided and people could experience hope through the mission who had been previously left out of the solutions that we have. We are excited to be a part of that ministry to people's lives.